just in the last week, I've had 4 different videos dropped in my lap, and I appreciate those of you who have sent them to me. A couple of them I was notified through our patron, and of course, immediately within the patron community, they're disassembling and discussing and correcting and coordinating comments and all this kind of stuff, which is fun. But of these, one I probably will not respond to simply because it doesn't warrant a response. I won't dignify it with a response because actually it was a video about me, which that's an interesting twist because normally I'm responding to somebody else instead of responding to somebody's response about something that I have said.
Right. The video was a response to something you said. It had nothing to do with you personally, because Edomites want their cake and eat it too. I'm going to continue calling out these dudes, Israelites and Edomites, who lie and omit the scriptures regarding polygyny. Nothing he said in the rest of this video was worth responding to because it was just a bunch of rhetoric. And he never answered pivotal points I made disproving polygyny is lawful in the eyes of God today. Alright, so I'm going to teach in this video and rightly divide the word of truth according to the scriptures, which is a commandment of God. We're going to look at the new covenant and the old covenant and how this relates to polygyny. Alright, now there were 12 sons of Israel and there were 12 tribes of Jacob. Okay, there's a difference between 12 tribes of Israel and the 12 sons of Israel. Okay, so the 12 sons of Israel were Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Gad, Asher, Naphtali, Levi, Simeon, Benjamin, Judah, Joseph, and his eldest son Reuben. Okay, but the 12 tribes of Israel are Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Gad, Asher, Naphtali, Levi, Simeon, Benjamin, Judah, Ephraim, and Manasseh. Okay, Ephraim and Manasseh are the sons of Joseph. Okay, because Reuben, the eldest son of Jacob, he slept with Jacob's concubine and he was cut off. All right, he was cut off from the inheritance. So right there, you already see the penalty of the law. Okay, the law is unforgiving. Okay, Reuben, under the new covenant, perhaps he would have repented and he would have been saved. Okay, that's not to say that he lost his salvation under the old covenant, but he would not receive the inheritance of Jacob. Okay, and the inheritance of Jacob inscribed in that was the practice of polygyny and all the blood covenants that the Israelites kept to the Most High. All right, that had to be paid in blood. Okay. Now, did the Hebrews practice polygyny before the establishment of the 12 tribes of Israel? Yes. But Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as I stated in previous videos, they practiced incest, which was forbidden under the law of Moses. Okay, so that's not the same. Okay, God's will was to use the 12 tribes of Israel to perpetuate righteous seed in the earth until Christ was born. This is why, although Reuben was the firstborn, he was cut off from the inheritance because he slept with his father's concubine. All right? So there were conditions to the sons of Israel practicing polygyny. It was a blood covenant, and they were to pay for it with their own blood, and the blood sacrificed of animals, some of which they used as livestock to feed their families. Okay, the Israelite women paid with their blood through the consecrations. And of course, those who broke the law, which said, "Thou shalt not commit adultery," they were put to death. Okay, more bloodshed. Okay, so I'm going to distinguish side by side the old covenant with the new covenant. All right, so under the old covenant, the Israelites were born of and consecrated to the 12 tribes of Israel. God said, do not step out of the boundaries of Israel. Okay. Under the new covenant is the born again, grafted in, tares and wheats doctrine. Okay. Where Christ said the angels will pull up the tares from the wheat. All right. And he will separate them and gather them in a barn. talking about the terrors, where they will be burned in fire. This was not the case under the Old Covenant. Under the Old Covenant, there was something called the Lord's release of debts. Okay, that means that every 7 years, the Israelites had to cancel all of their debts. Or if they didn't forgive the foreigner of his debt, then they had to forgive their brother of his debt. Okay, so every 7 years, they had to cancel their debts because the Lord said the poor shall never cease from the land. But under the New Covenant, in Matthew chapter 19, verse 21, Christ told the rich young ruler that if you want to be perfect, go sell everything that you have and give it to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. Okay, he also said in another passage, which I don't have time to go to, he said it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to inherit the kingdom of God. Okay, and in Luke chapter 6, verse 24, he said, woe to you who are rich, for you've already received your comfort. So Christ was introducing new revelation, because really those passages are linked to James chapter 5, which says that their riches are corrupted, talking about these Gentiles, okay, because they never paid back reparations for those who mowed their fields. So you have to read the scriptures and distinguish between the Old Testament and the New Testament, because obviously the kings were rich in the Old Testament, or any man who was practicing polygyny and he had multiple wives, he was rich. So how do you get past this? How do you practice polygyny without money? Christ told you your riches are corrupted. Under the Old Covenant, they had the Ark of the Covenant and they had the tabernacle. Okay, anyone who touched the Ark of the Covenant and they were full of sin, that person would die. Okay, or if they had the incorrect posture and they touched the Ark of the Covenant, they would die. Okay, what was under the Ark of the Covenant? Polygyny. Okay, the practice of multiple wives. The Ark of the Covenant represents a covenant with the Most High and all that they did under that covenant, all they practiced under that covenant. Okay, the consecrations, the rituals, okay, the sacrifices. But under the New Covenant, the temple of God is in our heart. The scriptures say it's written on the tablets of our heart. In the book of Leviticus chapter 15, it explains in details how the marriage bed was defiled, and the Israelites had to comply accordingly. Okay, they had to remove everything that was defiled, their bed sheets, their pillows, their bed, everything was defiled. Okay, when the woman's blood or the man's semen went on the bed. Under the New Covenant, according to Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4, marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled. But fornicators and adulterers God will judge. Okay, when it says the marriage bed is undefiled, it's referring to a man and a woman, which I'll get into later. It's not referring to a man and multiple women. All right. In the book of Exodus chapter 21, verse 10, there was something called conjugal rights. Okay, where a husband, if he took on a second wife or multiple wives, each one of those wives, her food, clothing, and marriage rights, he could not diminish. Okay, so in other words, taking more wives means more money. Okay, he couldn't say just because money is short in the household and he wants to fulfill his lust that he's going to take on another wife and he doesn't provide for her. All right. Well, under the New Covenant, the husband or the wife, neither one of them can go on a fast without consent from their husband or from their wife. The husband cannot go on a fast without consent from his wife, and the wife cannot go on a fast without consent from her husband, so they do not deprive one another. And this is written in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 3 through 5. Okay, so obviously the Apostle Paul is introducing new revelation. That's why he said in verse 2, nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. Okay, let the husband render to his wife the affection due her, and likewise also the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Verse 5, do not deprive one another except with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer and come together again so that Satan does not tempt you because you lack self-control. In the old covenant, the husband never needed consent from his wife to go on a fast. Okay? And this is something that Mr. Pete Rambo failed to address because he has no answer for it. Okay? Because he's convicted of the truth in his heart. All right? But Satan has come to deceive him to get him not to speak and put to shame the devil. All right? Under the old covenant, if a man took one of the foreign wives captives, their heads and nails were to be shaved. Okay, according to Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10 through 14. Let's read from there. It says, verse 10, when you go out to war against your enemies and the Lord your God delivers them into your hand and you take them captive, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman and desire her and would take her for your wife, then you shall bring her home to your house, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails. She shall put off the clothes of her captivity, remain in your house, and mourn her father and her mother a full month. Okay, it's talking about virgin women. It says, after that, you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be, if you have no delight in her, then you shall set her free, but you certainly shall not sell her for money. You shall not treat her brutally, because you have humbled her. All right, so that was under the old covenant. Okay, under the new covenant, just keep it simple. According to 2 Corinthians 6:14, Paul says, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Now, one may say, well, what about the penalty for disobeying the laws under the grace of God in the new covenant? Well, Matthew chapter 16:28 says, some shall not taste death until the Lord comes. Okay, it's the sting of death, the surprise of judgment. All right, so you don't want to be on the wrong side of doctrine when it comes to whether or not this practice of polygyny is still biblical. Because I just gave you more evidence that it is not. Okay, and in previous videos, I've done the same. I've established a playlist. That's what I was trying to convey to Mr. Pete Rambo. Now, keep in mind that Edomites, I believe, tried to practice some mode of polygyny during the transatlantic slave trade. And the Most High caused him and his brethren to kill one another during the Civil War. So this is why they're a monogamous society, because even they know if you try to institutionalize polygyny, that begets war. And Esau is afraid of going through that again. Okay, although some of those black slaves he sold, he profited from it, he still understood slavery was in the Bible, because a part of the Israelites' practice of polygyny, again, was to shave the heads of the foreign women. Okay, but we're not doing that under the new covenant. So anything in addition to that is added to the scriptures, which is why I say Mr. Pete Rambo is under the directive of satanic employment or devil obligations. Okay, let's just say he has devil obligations. Okay, he has devil obligations because whether it's for pride or greed or lust, whatever your reasoning, your rationale for practicing polygyny, okay, you're still misleading many people to the lake of fire. Okay, those who adhere to that false doctrine. So, as I stated before, I will be starting a new playlist, The Kings of Israel and Judah. All right, and then within that series, I'll be talking about soul ties. I'll be talking a lot about soul ties, generational curses. I'm going to revisit those 5 major curses for you returning viewers who've been introduced to that concept already. All right, I'm going to talk about third-party satanic soul ties and spirit houses, spirit spouses. All right, because, again, when you lay with multiple people, that accumulates the soul ties. So that gives more permissions to demons. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.